Hello and welcome to the very first video in our Hit Songwriter Meets AI series. You're all very welcome. A bit about me, I guess, to start with. I'm a very long time record producer and songwriter. I've had quite a few successes, a bit of a graphic up on the screen, which if you can be bothered to read through, it's up to you, but the highlights are 4 UK #1 singles, all of which have been very huge records, some well over 1 million copies in the UK. All of those #1s were nominated for British Single of the Year at the Brit Awards. I was also nominated 3 times for Ivor Novello Awards, which is kind of like the Oscars of British songwriting, and I'm delighted to say I actually won the Ivor Novello Award for Best Selling UK Single. I've done a lot of radio, TV and imaging and sonic branding, and I'm a pretty techie person, having done beta testing for various bits of music software over the years. So hopefully I've kind of paid my dues on this and kind of by now hopefully know what I'm doing. That's the theory anyway. And so why am I doing this channel, you might ask? Well, it's a controversial one, as everybody knows. AI and music is the topic of the moment. There's discussion about it on every forum, on every Discord, on every Reddit. There's people moaning, but there are others who've kind of realized that maybe we should be taking this a little bit more seriously in some cases and work with it. But there's no doubt it is a mess. It's a very big mess at the moment. That's the elephant in the room, I guess. And yeah, let's talk about it very briefly. We're going to have a much bigger discussion on the ethics of all of this. So I don't want to go too much into it now, but yep, the models, in the most part, were trained by so-called scraping the work of human creators, me and you, the songwriters, the musicians, the producers. In most cases without permission and without us getting remunerated for it. It's a very massive, messy legal battle that the industry is still fighting. Labels, the big labels, have taken some of these people to court. For example, they took Udio to court, who was one of the big music generators, and Udio have been the most active in very recently settling these copyright infringement lawsuits. Universal settled with them in October 2025. They agreed to a legal settlement and a partnership to launch a brand new licensed AI platform in 2026. Warner settled with them in November 25, very similar deal there. And Sony are the ones holding out with Udio and still pursuing the lawsuit against them. Suno, who I guess are the poster boys of AI for music, have had a slightly more fractious path to settlement compared to Udio, but they did settle back in November 25 with the Warner Music Group. And Suno have agreed to phase out models trained on unlicensed data and tell us they're going to launch a new fully licensed model in 2026. And Universal and Sony are still litigating against Suno along with other people like the German collection agency Gamer. But these things are slowly but surely getting settled. And so hopefully the right people will get paid. That's the theory behind this. But, you know, as I say, I don't want to go too deeply into this, what is a muddy water. My view, and it's a personal view, some people won't like it, is that it's not too dissimilar to the way, speaking personally, that I learned music. I've been playing the guitar since I was 3 years old. I've been singing since I was about the same, and I learned a lot of songs really quickly. I was performing in clubs and stuff like that when I was 11, 12 years old. And over the years, I learned thousands and thousands of songs to the point where I used to get known when we did songwriting camps as the human jukebox, because somebody would say, "Oh, do you know blah?" And I would pick up the guitar and start to play it. I had a really fast recall of all of these songs because I'd also been a radio broadcaster. So I was sitting listening to these songs day after day after day after day and absorbing everything about them, which was very helpful as a songwriter. And what that meant was that when I was in a songwriting session and somebody would come up with a line or a melody, I'd say, hang on a minute, you can't do that because that was line 3 from the hit by X back in 1989 or whatever it might have been. In other words, I was flagging up, an alarm would go off that actually you're ripping somebody off here. You can't do that. Now, is that what's going on now? Well, let's talk a little bit about the technicality of it, shall we? Suno and the other things, they're not mass samplers, okay? They're not sampling people's music and then regurgitating the samples. They're more of a mass prediction machine. They are listening to original music, and again, whether that was legal or not is not the point here, but it's heard a lot more songs than even I have, and it's learned all of this stuff and will then predict what comes next in the song, bit by bit, layer by layer, instrument by instrument. That's how it works. In the same way that, frankly, when I'm writing, and I'm sure you're the same, will maybe sometimes unconsciously just regurgitate melodies that you remember from the past and maybe change them a bit, but, nothing's new in music, as they say. What we need to do is take the power back. The tech is already here. So let's try and use it as a high-end tool rather than letting it use us. We're moving from, hopefully, victim of the tech to master of the tool. And frankly, to be honest, you don't have to like how the engines are built to recognize that a car is now on the road. That car is here and people are using it all over the world. And if you do your studies on this, there's a lot of very famous writers and producers and artists who are using Suno and its like all the time. Some won't talk about it. Some are happy to talk about it. And the ones that I've seen who are talking about it in glowing terms about what it can do for them, because they're already good at their art. They're just asking for some help from technology. So, do you want to get run over, or do you want to be in the driver's seat? Well, I know where I want to be, and that's hopefully what we're going to do with Hit Songwriter Meets AI. We're going to teach songwriters to be in the driver's seat, and let's not be the victim of the tech. It's all happened before. Let me tell you, back in 1994, I was the founder of a very big radio production company in London, and we were the first pretty much in the UK to use a very new tool then called Pro Tools. And this was one of the very first digital audio workstations. To that point, I was using tape, razor blades, and chinagraphs. Now, I might be talking gobbledygook to some of our younger audience, but the older people remember that if we wanted to make an edit in a song, it was recorded onto a piece of magnetic tape. We had to mark the in point, the out point with a bit of chinagraph, physically cut it with a razor blade and stick it back together with some tape. Now, it sounds farcical, but, we got good at it. We had to get good at it. I was editing tape every day of my life, many, many, many edits. And when Pro Tools came along, I suddenly said to myself, hang on a minute, this is going to make my job a lot easier, because not only am I not messing around with actual tape and razor blades, I can undo stuff, I can work much faster, I can work much smarter. So the panic at the time was, well, you're cheating. You can't do that because it's digital and it's stealing the soul, so you can't use it. Well, of course it wasn't. It was just making our job a lot easier. And that's kind of where we are today. When AI generates stuff, people will say, well, there's no human emotion. True. And it's stealing. Not necessarily true, but it's a kind of parallel argument. So I've seen this cycle. The technology changes the method, but it's never changed the requirement for people who know what they're doing, people who know how to make the right edit, if we're going to talk about the tape analogy, or the right hook or melody or lyric, if we're going to talk about songwriting. I've been doing this for over 30 years, so hopefully I know a good tool when I see one, and I think I'm seeing one right now. So rather than talking about algorithms and scientist talk, let's talk about a few simple analogies. Let's call what these generative AIs are doing a global librarian. And this librarian has spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, listening to every song ever recorded, reading every lyric ever written. Now, again, whether the legality is right or wrong, we're not going to go into now. But when we ask for help from one of these generative AIs, it's just looking through that library, and like I do, and it's saying, well, look, based on the 4,000 hit choruses I've just looked through, this is the most likely note to follow the one before it. So it's a suggestion engine, not a creator. But it hasn't got any gut. It hasn't got any humanity. It doesn't know why a certain lyric or a certain melody will make you want to drive to your ex's house at 3 o'clock in the morning. It just knows that those kind of words often appear in sad songs because it knows them all, right? And that's kind of what I've always done when I'm songwriting. The people in the room would listen to each other's ideas and we'd make the decision as to which were the best ones. We'd throw out the bad ones and we'd keep the good ones, right? That's basically how we wrote songs back in the old days. And I'm pretty sure once we go through this and start to explain how I'm using this new technology, you'll agree that actually these generative AIs are just really good collaborators. It's down to us to provide the taste. It gives us really quick suggestions, and it's down to us to make that into something extraordinary. So that's kind of where I think we are with this. You may agree, you may disagree. We'll have plenty of time to discuss it, and feel free to leave comments if you feel you want to. So AI suggests stuff. It's still down to us to decide. That's a really important part of this. In the same way that in a room with other writers, somebody has to say, actually, this is the melody we're going with. Otherwise, you'd never get anything finished. We're the ones who get moved by melodies. We're the ones who get moved by lyrics. And let's be honest, most of us are probably using AI in some form already in music. If you use, for example, stem splitters, if you use Logic Pro or Ableton, and you split out the stems, take a stereo track and let it split it into drums and bass and keyboards and vocals, you're using AI. If you're using Ozone 12 to do your mixes for you, to tweak your mixes, you're using AI. This is just another way of using AI. Use it to throw 20 bad ideas at you until you see one that sparks a good one. It can also create textures that don't exist in the real world. You can say to these machines, give me a half piano, half whisper. Amazing stuff. I mean, we would spend hours on synthesizers twiddling knobs till we got the right sound before. Now we can describe it, write it down, and the machine throws it back at us. It's incredibly exciting. Yeah, and yes, it's controversial, but the results are undeniable if you're the one in the driver's seat. AI provides the clay, but you are still the sculptor. What's made by that clay is down to you. You really don't want to let the machine take over. That's not what we're about here at Hit Songwriter Meets AI. Yeah, of course. Somebody can download Suno, they can type into it, make me a song about cookies and coffee, and off it goes. It writes the lyrics, it writes the melody, and everybody is impressed. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about songwriters who can already write lyrics, who can already write melodies, but just want a really good co-writer to help them out with both of those things. And then, and this is the killer thing that it does incredibly, turn those ideas into amazing demos. That blew me away the first time I put one of my old songs into Suno and briefed it, and what came back was staggering and so fast. That in the old days would be pretty impossible and really expensive. And that is the exciting part for me of the new generation of AIs. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to do some examples of it as we go through with these videos. And we're going to be holding some online video seminars where we work through how, as songwriters and producers, we can use the tools, how we prompt them properly, how we use them to make our old demos sound really good. That's hopefully where we're going with this. So if that's the kind of thing that interests you, pop along to the website. It's hitsongwritermeetsai.com, hitsongwritermeetsai.com, and register your interest for the courses we'll be running in the very near future. So that's kind of where we are with it. I hope it's made some kind of sense to you. I'm looking forward to this journey, but let's remember what we're trying to do here is keep the human in the loop. I've lived through many technical changes, technological advances in music. I'm excited about what the future holds. As long as we keep the human in the loop, these are exciting times. So hopefully you can join us for more videos. Pop along to the website, and please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps a lot if you just click that subscribe button for me. Thank you for that. Thank you for being patient through our first video. Hope it made some kind of sense, and I look forward to the next one. Take care of yourself.